Hey, everybody, and welcome to Your Money Story, where I, your host and personal finance curator, Renita Young, introduce you to some top personal finance influencers, experts who can help you redefine your relationship with money, help you budget, spend, save better for you in your life at this season. And so, what we talked about at the top is exactly what we're going to go into today. Every once in a while, we have to redefine our relationship with money. You know why? Because some older habits may still be dragging on. And I know personally for me, I still have some of those holiday spending habits dragging on. So today I have a great person to come on and talk about redefining your relationship with money. Her name is Raya Reaves, and she comes from Austin, Texas, and she founded City Girl Savings. If you haven't followed her yet, go on ahead and follow after this. But let me bring her on right now. Ray should be joining us shortly. Hi, good morning.
Hi, Renee. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, Raya?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's great. You're in Texas. Today it's not as warm as it is in Austin, but out here in New York, we got about 60 degrees today. So
I mean, that's a win, right?
it's a win. It's a huge win, especially after all that rain and snow on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad to have you here. I see folks are piling in. Come on in, everybody. We're talking about how to redefine your relationship with money. And before we do that, we take people on a road. We take people on a journey of your own money story. And so I did a little research. I know that you grew up in Austin. You went to college in California. But your relationship with money, you've had to redefine it several times throughout your journey. So first, tell us, how did you grow up relating to money? What was your relationship like with money growing up?
Yeah, so both of my parents worked very hard. My mom worked in corporate America. My dad ran his own business. So growing up, I saw that if you worked hard, you could make money. What I think that my parents failed to hone in on, and I think this is common across society, is they didn't drive home proper money management principles for me and my brother. So they would say things like save your money, don't go crazy spending. And as a kid who wants to accumulate things, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever you say. And
Yeah.
so growing up, I kind of had this thought process that, yeah, if you work hard for your money, it will always come. But hey, if you have it, spend it. So when I left Austin and moved to California for school, I was all by myself. I got a student credit card and it literally spiraled from there. I went
Mhm.
years just overspending, racking up credit card debt, not really prioritizing, paying it off, didn't have a budget, and it left me in financial shambles.
And that's a lesson that we all learn. I mean, many of us, I should say. That's where we were first exposed to credit cards in college. If you go there, they offer you a free t-shirt for a credit card,
Right.
and then you found yourself in debt later. And so in the middle of that, you had quite a few different changes in life that happened that kind of forced you to hunker down on your budget for the first time. So take us through that journey.
Yeah, so by the time I graduated college and realized that I had to get a job to kind of sustain myself, um, I got my first job out of college working for a major bank, working part-time. So it took 1.5 paychecks to cover 1 month's worth of rent. I had savings from graduation gifts, so that got me by a little bit, but eventually it got to a place where I didn't pay my rent on time, and I walked up to my door and saw pay in 3 days or get out. And
Ouch.
my mom had co-signed the apartment for me because I didn't have good credit. So instead of like calling me, they called her, and I get a phone saying, if you don't get your crap together, you're
Hmm.
like back to Austin. And that was such a wake up call for me because I wanted to be independent. I wanted to stay in LA. I had my own apartment. And that was literally my turning point. I ended up getting the money, paying the rent, and then
Okay.
budgeting immediately after that.
I should note, folks, that if you go on Raya's website and read her story, you'll find out she was quite the financially conscious high schooler, right? And I mean, this is just proof that if you do have some mistakes, you can obviously bounce back from them. You go back in, you redefine that relationship, and then you bounce back. And so let's talk about you. A lot of other things happen between them, but folks, I encourage you to go and read Raya's full story on her website because it really is inspiring. But at one point, you became so good at creating budgets at one of the jobs that you were at that you started helping other people out. And then you created a business, budget on a budget, right? So tell me what you learned your first round in having a personal finance business.
Okay, so budget on a budget was a business idea. It didn't actually come into fruition. But after I faced eviction and got myself on a budget, things started turning around for me. And the people I was working with like saw what I was doing while I was at my shift. I was like, calculating numbers, and they were like, "Well, can you do this for me? Can you help me with this?" And I was like, "Sure, it's working for me." And that's how the idea of budget on a budget came to be. I can help people create budget plans for a low cost. I was young, I was 22 at the time, and nothing happened with that business idea. And then my father, who lived in Austin, was killed by a drunk driver. And that really forced me to think about my life and what was important. And so I made the decision to move back to Austin. Never thought I would. But my living situation was so different because I moved in with mom back home,
Mm-hmm.
still making money. And now that I knew how to budget, I was making more, spending a lot less. I could expedite my goals faster. And once that started happening, that's how City Girl Savings became to be. Because I recognized I like to go out to eat, I like to travel, but I don't like credit card debt. I like having money in savings. And if I can figure budgeting out, so can other women like me. And City Girl Savings was formed. That is an idea that I actually stuck with, and here we are today.
And budget on a budget was kind of like the seed,
Yeah.
the seed to your entrepreneurship journey. And you know what else I love about your brand is that it is to make, what did you say, make learning and saving money fun while discussing fashion, health, fitness, travel, and other things that many ladies like. And so it doesn't demonize those things, as long as there's room for it in your budget. And so today we're talking about how to redefine your relationship with money or with your budget. And you say that it starts with your mindset, right? So tell us how we can create a better mindset. And is it just really like acknowledging is the first part, is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is, right? I think like oftentimes people hear the word budget and instantly think like negative. I can't spend money if I'm on a budget,
Hmm.
enjoy my life. And that's
Yeah.
true. A budget is simply a tool. It tells you what your money should be doing. If you don't like what it tells you, that's not the budget's fault. The budget light. So you have to start thinking, well, a budget is telling me what I can and can't do. That is useful information for me to leverage to reach my goals, to enjoy life, to find that balance. So instead of thinking of budgeting as a negative thing, think of it as something that's actually helping you improve.
That is so good to note that because people say all the time budgets are not sexy. Budgets, well, it's kind of a dirty word to a lot of people, and talking about money is still taboo in a lot of communities. And you also say this, like, what about the people who have anxiety around money, anxiety around budgeting, who have a scarcity mindset even? What about them? How can they approach this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As scary as it is to really know your financial situation, to really know the truth behind what money is coming in and what money is going out, as scary as it is, you have to know that information because when you know that, it puts you in control. And the minute you're in control of your money, that's when the anxiety starts to decrease. The weight is slowly lifted off your shoulders. Even if it's $25 a month that you can afford to save, the fact that you are saving what you can afford to brings peace of mind. So it's almost like you have to get over that scary hump, know your situation, and then things can become easier for you.
And you also say, make sure you have a positive mindset about it too.
Yeah.
Do you ever do like money affirmations? Actually, you do, because they're on your IG, right? So maybe this is a good time to start talking to yourself, to start saying some money affirmations, right?
Yeah. One of my favorite money affirmations, and anyone who's listening can take this for their own, is money flows swiftly and easily into my bank account. It's like one affirmation that I always go to. And when I say it, I like picture money like flying into my balance just going up and up and up. And I think, the more that you say these things to yourself, the more you start to believe it. And when you start to believe what's possible, you start moving in the direction of where you want to be. And that's when the result.
Absolutely. It's power in saying these things to yourself, you know? I mean, just like we say the negative things to ourselves, we have to remember to say the positive things to ourselves and sort of create the life that we want to live. I could not agree more. And you say also that flexibility is important in redefining that relationship with money. Tell us what you mean by that.
Yeah, so when I say flexibility is important, I mean with your numbers, right? So after you have your income defined, you have your expenses defined, and you have this leftover amount, no matter how big or small it is, you have to give yourself a little room to enjoy life with. Don't go crazy, right? No, we're not
Mm-hmm.
overboard, but if you enjoy coffee, like iced coffee is my thing. I will include iced coffees in my budget because it brings me joy. So when I say
Mm-hmm.
give yourself a little bit of room to enjoy life with. You can still work towards your goals and have your iced coffees.
Absolutely. Put it in the budget. And I see someone said, hi, hey, Danielle, another person in the personal finance community. And say another thing. And I think this is one of the most important things that we can do is have grace with ourselves, be gracious with ourselves because we may be learning something. Maybe we're learning it for the second or third time, but we make mistakes and it's important to have grace with yourself when you're rebuilding, right? So tell us what that looks like and what sort of things can you acknowledge along that line?
Yeah, I think it looks like understanding that nothing is going to be perfect. I'm a budget coach and I'm still not perfect with my budget. That is an unrealistic expectation to put on yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
recognize that, hey, things are going to ebb and flow month over month, but I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm not going to let one slip up just put me in a downward spiral. I'm going to bounce back quickly. That's how you can get to a place where you're gracious with yourself because you're capable of getting right back on track.
Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, you've done it before. You did something last month, just think about that. Use whatever little piece of inspiration that you can to keep moving forward. Raya, I really enjoyed this, but before we go, you have quite a few trainings. You have many resources on your website and on your social platforms. One thing that I want to ask you about briefly is your ebook, which is called 5 Tools for the Savvy Saving Woman. Can you give us like one tool?
Well, can you guess? It's a budget.
There you go.
Matter a budget. You absolutely need a budget to see success with your finances. And as long as you recognize that a budget is a good thing, it's a helpful thing, you're already moving in the right direction.
And so one other thing that I want to acknowledge, folks, we definitely did talk about designing your life the way that you'd like or designing your budget so that it can allow for the things that make you happy. But the truth is sometimes we do have to make cutbacks, right? Sometimes there are things that we don't need that we have and they can be saving us money. And so on Ray's website, she also has a free cheat sheet, 40 ways to cut back and save money. Give us like 2 of those.
So one is cutting back cable. Right now with streaming services, do you need cable and Netflix and Hulu? So cutting
Mm-hmm.
cable. If you own a home and you pay for lawn services, reduce the amount of time in between your services so that you're not paying as much month over month. So those are two quick things I thought of.
Too quick. It's 38 others on the cheat sheet. If you go to Ray's website, citygirlsavings.com, you can find and download the other one, as well as find out what other kinds of services, coaching, one-on-one financial coaching as well, Raya offers. Raya, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed this today, and I do hope we can have you on again as we see City Girl Savings grow. Much success to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.